Let's talk about WOUT VAN AERT. I must admit that I have been overly critical of WOUT VAN AERT at points, but that is simply because he's a part of Jumbo-Visma who I detest with all of my soul. WOUT VAN AERT is underappreciated, I think, of a peloton, and yes, Van der Poel does get better results on like the big stage, but WOUT VAN AERT is without a doubt better in a lot of other ways in comparison to Mathieu van der Poel, and I think WOUT VAN AERT is the most all-rounded rider in the whole of the peloton.
What did he say?
You could argue Tadej Pogačar is also the most well-rounded, but WOUT VAN AERT has won a sprint on the Champs-Elysees against some of the best sprinters in the world, and I doubt Pogačar's going to do that, but Pogačar does have the uphill advantage. But this isn't about Pogačar. WOUT VAN AERT has won over some seriously diverse terrain. Think back to when he won over Mont Ventoux. He was literally dropping Kenny Elissonde and Bauke Mollema on that day. That was pretty embarrassing for them, but also his victory into Calais in the Tour de France, which was, I think, one of my favourite finishes that I've ever seen, and it's probably the most exciting I've ever seen Jumbo-Visma beat, and it's probably the most exciting Jumbo-Visma will ever beat in their whole career. But there's also his win in E3. He won Milano-San Remo, however that was in the COVID era, and I don't really count any results that happened in the COVID era. Ghent-Wevelgem, he's won that, and he gifted it to Christophe Laporte as well. And also he won the Amstel Gold Race, just about, against Pidcock, and that's still up for debate. But that's a whole different video. But my point is, WOUT VAN AERT has won over an incredibly diverse amount of terrain, something which Van der Poel hasn't done. Van der Poel, I'm not saying he's just a one-trick pony, but he's very good over very specific sorts of terrain. And I just think that WOUT VAN AERT's got a greater versatility because he is a better climber and he's also a better time trialist, whereas Van der Poel just doesn't, unless the TT is really quite short. Whereas you do see WOUT VAN AERT finishing on the podium of like World Champs TTs, something which you don't see Van der Poel doing at all. WOUT VAN AERT also finishes on the podium of lots of other things. I mean, he is literally a perpetual like podium finisher, not a winner, but he's an Olympic medalist. He's finished on the podium of the World Champs a couple or a few times. Like, he's not a slouch. It's just that WOUT VAN AERT lacks these big results. Like, if he had a Flanders or a Roubaix, he would be one of the best riders. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't, so therefore we have to sort of hold that against him. He is also, I think, one of the best domestiques in the world. Think back to Hautacam when he was critical in dropping Tadej Pogačar up at Hautacam. That was insane. I know he was in a break, but whatever. But also when he saved Primoz Roglic at Paris-Nice on stage 8 over the Col d'Ez, because Roglic is, as we all know, he just capitulates on any stage. He can crash, he can, especially Paris-Nice final stages, he just seems to have a bad thing against them. And also stage 5 of the Tour de France in 2022, when he was pretty critical to just sitting on the front of Roglic's group and trying to bring that back, because once again Primoz Roglic can't stay in his bike because he ran into a hay bale. I honestly think that if I was to have two people on a team to win everything, I think if you had WOUT VAN AERT and Pogačar, you could win pretty much every race going, because you'd have WOUT on the front on whatever terrain you want him to go on, and then you have Pogačar as well. I think that those two would actually beat the majority of World Tour teams having a full roster of riders. I truly believe that. So WOUT VAN AERT, let's summarise. WOUT VAN AERT is, I think, the most well-rounded rider in the peloton, which gives him an edge over Van der Poel because he can compete over a wider variety of terrain. Even if that means that he does seem to take a hit on the big stage events, like your monuments and your world championships, for example. And also, he does fall a little bit short on the cyclocross. But anyway, that is what it is. WOUT VAN AERT is also, in my opinion, probably the best domestique in the world. And I think that, honestly, if he were to get a Flanders or a Roubaix, which he is so close to doing, he would arguably be the best rider
in the world.